So I didn't have enough printouts for everybody. Hopefully you can follow along. We don't have a printout. So today I'm going to be discussing trauma-based mind control. And I don't know if anybody was here a few months back. I did a presentation on another presentation on mind control. It's kind of how to control your own mind, how to take control of your own thoughts and actions. A lot of what we're doing with Trivium is involved with taking control of your own thoughts, eliminating contradictions so you can arrive at truth and come to a better understanding of what the world you're living in. So this presentation is not on how to control your own mind, but it's more on how others are attempting to control our minds. So whenever I do presentations, I like to break it down using the Trivium: who, what, where, when, why, and how, and the different aspects of each of the subjects that we examine. So for the who of trauma-based mind control, who are the abusers? Who are actually perpetrating or attempting to control our minds? So it's the media, advertisers, and that's kind of the for trauma-based mind control. There's mild forms of it and there's severe forms of it. So for the mild forms of it is the media and advertisers who are telling you every day that you're not good enough, you are missing something, you're incomplete unless you buy this product. Right. And then for the, as I was doing research in this, there's kind of a severe form of trauma-based mind control which was developed by the CIA. It actually goes back a long time in ancient history where people like magicians and stuff would use their knowledge of the workings of the human mind to be able to influence people's behavior and control the way they act and think. So this was developed by the CIA in a project called MK Ultra, which is a mind control program where they would traumatize people and get them to kind of
act how they want.
Right, yeah.
Control them like a puppet, literally.
Yeah.
And it was developed by Nazi scientists too, so throw that in there.
Keywords.
And
Yes, good call.
part of the research I did in this book called the Franklin Cover-Up, and it's about child abuse and satanic cults and stuff that kind of run rampant through our country and actually is
Still do.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot of people in positions of power are involved in this stuff.
Honeypot parties.
Yeah.
There's a documentary on that book too called the Conspiracy of Silence.
Yes.
We posted on the page.
Yeah, it's really bad quality, but
Oh,
like I said, yeah,
Okay.
So who are the victims of mind control? Anyone who consumes media on a regular basis, at least if you're not doing so without thinking critically about what you're watching. If you are watching TV or commercials or advertisements or movies or listening to music, and you're not thinking about it critically, you're not examining and putting a filter on what's coming through, it's just going straight to your subconscious, and it's going to traumatize you. I mean, even if you're not aware of it on some level, if you're consuming traumatic media, it's going to be influencing you.
Did you know that Mozart put melodies into his music that were affiliated with his Eastern Star Masonic?
yes.
Yeah, there's Masonic messages in Mozart's music.
Wow.
So it's been going on for hundreds of years.
Yeah. And so who is, the other aspect of who's exposing the information on this. So there's some videos online and some articles written by Fritz Springmeier. It's structured and ritualized traumatic abuse. And we'll get into that a little bit more. So when does trauma-based mind control happen? Traumatic events can occur throughout our lives at any age. 90% of brain development occurs during the first 5 years of your life. And this is a very critical period for vulnerability to mind control. I found this great quote from the North Carolina Social Services. It's brain development in infancy and early childhood lays the foundation for all future development. Neural pathways form at great speed and depend on the repetition of experiences. Experiences teach the brain what to expect and how to respond. So in addition to just consuming media and just being bombarded by all this propaganda and trauma, there's also viral events like JFK assassination or 9/11, where it's actually a culture-wide or even worldwide trauma that's just shared by everybody. So I mean, if you ask someone where were you when Kennedy was shot, if you're old enough to remember that, or where were you when you found out about 9/11, it's a very vivid memory for most people. You can remember where you were, what was happening. It's a traumatic experience. It's burned into the collective memory of everybody.
Where I was when Pearl Harbor was.
Right, yeah.
And I just want to add with 9/11, since it's a Trivium meeting, you know, a lot of, like, people, Anton LaVey or those guys like that, the Satanists, they talk about the Trivium, their own method, they like to flip logic and rhetoric.
Yes.
9/11 is a perfect example of that, of how it happened, they told you what happened, and then we reacted instead of taking in all the information and reacting afterwards. You see how many conspiracies came out of that.
And they cleaned up the crime site so fast.
Yeah, got rid of all the video. I mean, you know, 9/11 there's so much information, but just gotta use the Trivium in order, and that's what
It gets into what's called the Hegelian dialectic, where it's they have a solution they want to offer you, so then they create a problem, get you to react to it, and then demand that solution that they want to offer.
Patriot Act? I mean, I don't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question over here.
Yes.
Is it always traumatic or is it always negative? It seems like it's just exploiting human minds in a way that like indoctrinators from propaganda. One example, like, I remember there was a video game called, what was it, Animal Crossing. I was accused of propagandizing children and teaching them multiculturalism because you have cute little white bunnies living in the same house as little black bears. People were angry because they thought I was like teaching, mixing the races to the kids. I think people were angry. But my question is, building a community in a video game does not seem traumatic or negative, but it could potentially be indoctrinating because you're normalizing those behaviors.
Well, it's all about the subject content of what you're producing. So if you're producing a video game that has positive benefits or psychological benefits, then it's not a bad thing necessarily. But if you're
But is it not indoctrination to some degree?
maybe indoctrination, but I mean, indoctrination, it could just be teaching, right? It could be giving someone information that's useful to them.
Okay, so this is separate from propaganda.
So this, I mean,
Or it's preparing
it's related to propaganda, but it's more sinister. I mean, I use that term, or more,
It's more left.
right. It's more evil, more negative intent.
Well, I think it's not either good or bad, it's how it's applied. A knife can be used to cut fruit or cut someone's throat. And
Right.
Our goal is to teach you guys this information so you can not be fucked with by it, you know, so you can actually learn to use it for good in your life. You know, that's why essentially what we're here, because right now a lot of this information, it's been occulted, it's hidden from us, and it's being used to manipulate us. And by sharing this information, having these meetings, then we learn to not get screwed over by that information. Because
de-occulting this hidden
de-occulting
information.
this hidden information. That's why we have these meetings, and so that's where you're going to, whatever propaganda it is, you know, it's just, you have to come up with your own rhetoric, right? That's like the most important thing for me, it's like teaching you guys to create your own rhetoric. Like, you know, don't listen to me, but don't listen to some of it. Listen is list within, right? But take what you need to create your own rhetoric.
Right. One more question, if I can really quick. So the media advertisers, propagandists, they're all exploiting us in various ways. But can you blame them because they're only doing what's effective? If there's an ethical media company and an unscrupulous one, the ethical one will go to business because the unscrupulous one has no problem exploiting our fallacies and flaws in reasoning.
That's the age-old philosophical imbalance. The person who is evil has no qualms about being evil, whereas the person who's good can't resort to a strong enough defense because he's good.
I think it comes down to the service to self or service to others mind state. Because if you get somebody who has these tools, and that for me, like I'm getting all like, how can I teach all you to have these tools too? So it's a service to others mind state. You know, like, but there can be the other side where you're a service to self. I can have all this knowledge and keep it to myself and make a lot of money using logical fallacies on people, right? Question.
Yeah. One of my spiritual teachers has a quote. It goes something to this effect. The right person can be doing the wrong thing and they've still reached their destination. The wrong person doing the right things will never reach the destination. The destination being like the goal, the promised land or something like that. And it's, you know, following our intention. The company that's doing, you know, let's say underhanded measures in order to gain a profit, that's unsustainable in nature, right? So it may not happen in our lifetime, but in the grand scheme of things, it's unsustainable. Whereas a company that practices sustainable business, there is a place for them in the world to create longevity and success. I believe that. We have to hold that vision, otherwise it just continues on the way that it does.
What about banks and clothing companies that have been found guilty of repeated lying to public, misleading statements, exploitation of people, and some of them get bailouts, some of them
Yeah.
get support and stuff like that?
Yeah,
That's because there's a structure called government in place
Yes.
that allows that to
that allows
happen.
it to happen.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
All
mind
government
control.
does is
Like, these
basically
people are exempt because they're in the cahoots with all these other people, you know? And so like, that's where we have to have these meetings and start calling people out. This is bullshit, you know what I mean?
And ultimately, all this information comes down to us. We're the ones that have to put in the effort. We're the ones that have to stop doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's gonna be an individual.
It's how we live our life on a daily basis.
Sometimes, like in response, I think it's a great question you brought up because it helps us look at like, okay, we see a lot of how this is done to control people, you know, in a negative way, push people down. But if we look back in history at the iconic figures that have, you know, changed the opinions or the beliefs of people on a massive scale for good, like Gandhi or Jesus or Martin Luther King, like, you know, it is possible to do it the other way too.
Yes, absolutely.
That's
That's what we're doing.
All murders.
Didn't you say, what was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you exploited a fallacy for a good cause, so there you go.
It's like, I can use the logical fallacies for good or evil. I use it with my clients, like, well, what's the consequences if you're not working out with me this next year? Like, oh shit, I better work out. You know, because I use a logical fallacy, but I use it for good. You know, because it's gonna be a problem if they don't work out in the next year with me, you know? So you have to learn, it's a knife, I can cut your throat or I can cut fruit. See fruit,
Feed
you
you.
know?
So it's not the technique that's evil, it's the outcome that can be evil.
The intention.
It's the intent, because it's like, it comes back to the abracadabra thing, it's like, what emotion am I putting into those stuff that I'm projecting, right?
Okay.
That is it, it's like, that's one of the most important things of like, when you want to create a better reality, is put emotion, like, if you're feeling anger, turn that into something positive and project that into the world, you know? Like, that's where the power of your emotions is so important. Sound good? Chris?
All right,
Oh,
so,
Dad, hold on, Dad, you got a question?
Yes.
And to Chris, and I don't know, I'm just making a statement, it seems that the negativity seems to draw more of your attention.
It's more powerful.
That's, you know, like negative press, how can Trump get elected? Hillary was doing so many negative things, and that, they weren't talking about the issues that affect you and me, they were talking about character. And
At
it's
home
like-
and attacks
and it has a
character,
reverse effect.
Yeah.
That's what folks care about.
And so it relates
Manipulation.
right on to your question, and that's, you know, you gotta think and be critical thinkers on both sides.
Hillary never did
The coin
anything
has
wrong.
two sides.
Can I add just one thing to his
Go for
comment? I think that negative, you know, approach is so effective because if you look at the general population in terms of, you know, diet and general health, mental and physical, energetically people are so suppressed that you could say their central nervous system is conditioned to fight or flight response, right? So they're either going to attack it or try to avoid it.
Yep.
Right, and so the negative approach works really well with that. It's like I'm either going to show you something to come towards and attack, or something to run away from.
Path of least resistance
Right,
just came to mind.
you know, the ego is fight or flight.
To take it even a step further, like people in control, people in power, they're psychopathic, not, literally they are. They suffer from psychopathy and their cerebral cortex does not work. It does not function
Serves
when
to
they get
self,
brain
it's
scan.
like, oh, if it's for me, it's good. I'm like, fuck all you, me. Like, they're sick, like, oh, if it's not for me, it's not good. It's like,
They don't have morality, they don't know what they're doing, and then the first tenet of Satanism is service to self.
yes,
And
do as thou wilt.
Well, we've had world wars because of these issues. You know,
Yeah.
in history, you look at what led up to World War I, World War II. We don't want that. We've had 50 years, 60 years of you know, what the attack on Pearl Harbor and what happened. You know, there's issues there.
All manipulations by insiders.
Exactly.
All manipulations by insiders.
you know, I've been studying wars.
Make money.
In the invasion of Germany.
Destroy
Oil.
And
Yep.
to destroy certain aspects of civilization that
Central
in their way.
banks,
Yeah.
Yes.
you know, like that, I think that's one of the biggest things why there's all these wars going on.
They make
Because
money off it.
they want to control, I was just reading upstairs something about the dollar bill, and like, why the hell do we have a triangle? Why is there an eye on the triangle, right? But even to go beyond that, it's like, all these other countries that, the reason why we're in war is because they're not accepting the dollar bill. Why did Gaddafi get killed? Because he dropped the dollar bill, right?
Yeah,
So
central bank.
it's definitely has to do with, you know,
It's a awesome documentary called All Wars Are Bankers' Wars. I'm gonna
Yes.
post it to the
Yeah.
page right now.
Yes, please.
It's All Wars Are Bankers' Wars, and it kind of goes into what
Yeah.
we're talking about. I'm gonna post it on the page right now.
Did you have something you want to say too?
Yeah, so, I mean, just a quick note, like, it just went much richer place than I was gonna take it when you know, the influence of wars and things like that, but most people that are in leadership are sociopaths in their business or in government, that's like their path. And it's, and you can have sociopathic tendencies, and like, basically self-interest would still be altruistic, it's like, the method
Yeah.
doesn't determine anything about the outcome.
Personally, in business, I had like mentors that they're like on the surface they were like really cool, you know. I'm like, wow. And then I got down to the depths. Like, oh shit, you're really after yourself, and I had to like back out. And so like,
Totally. Well, you can never tell. Like these
Yes.
people are really usually charismatic, and you can't tell like the wolf in sheep's clothing, right?
yeah, no,
Maybe
totally.
in society.
And yeah, and then sorry, you really caught my attention with that. I don't remember the main point that I was gonna make with the way that the word attention. It's the willpower effect, right?
Yeah.
So really, I can get anyone to talk about anything, like anyone can. You just need to make it happen, and then people will talk about it. Like someone will talk about like a concert where people were giving out like free purses or something like, and that would be like a historical event in the city like 50 years later, just because it's something for people to talk about. And if you add that with the fact that you only have a limited amount of willpower you can use every day to either accomplish your goals or deal with the bullshit out there. There's so much bullshit, and if you don't have something to protect you, like some kind of logic, you're just gonna fall into the general brainwashing, and then
Yes.
everyone gets to talk about it, and then that's how it's really. The government, if you look at like at least now taxes like up to like 50% of your income, right? But initially it wasn't that, right? It was only 10%. The government doesn't need a lot from all of us. There's so many of us, and they just take a tiny little piece of every day, and then that's where it's at. And that's why like it's gotten to the point where it's unsustainable. Now we know that.
Yes.
So
So there's gotta be a change.
That's why we're here,
That's
everybody.
why we're here, guys.
You can see we all want to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It's
great.
awesome.
I feel so much better after these meetings. I'm like, there's all this shit going on in the world, and I have these meetings. I'm like, wow, there's other people who are awake.
It's like an
It feels so
outlet.
good. Like, I
Yeah.
really love all you guys for that. You know, it's really important to me. Chris,
All right,
keep
so,
it up, dude.
Back to the presentation.
I got a presentation.
So we'll get into why do people institute trauma-based mind control. So for the mild stuff, they want to sell you more product. They want to make more money, and they do that through fear, instilling a sense of helplessness, and then fracturing your ego and sense of self-worth, so that you feel that you're not complete unless you buy this product, unless you look this way, dress this way, fit in with this group and not the other group, right? And then for the severe,
Right.
for the severe mind control,
Saturn.
the goal is to actually destroy your personality or alter it and create new personalities. They to essentially create slaves, and it's all about control. So how is this accomplished? There's 3 ways to bypass the thinking mind. First is sensory overload. So they come out with you so much information. This is related to like advertisements and subliminal messages. They're bombarding you with this loud information. There's these quiet things that are going under the radar, but it's going into your subconscious mind. Conflicting information. This is a big thing for the Trivium, is to really get rid of all conflicting and contradictory ideas so that you can have a valid and coherent sense of truth and the world that you're living in.
I have a quick thought.
Yes.
Pavlov taught the dogs to salivate whenever the bell rang. We can turn that inside out or upside down if you wish, and teach our brain to have a bell ring when something comes along that wants us to salivate.
When something flags,
So that we automatically catch it before it affects us.
yes.
We may divert it that way. The trouble is, they're coming so fast and so quickly, and there are so many of them hiding behind each other.
Well, that's the
that
sensory
you
overload, where you're
won't
just
be
coming at
able
you
to
from
get
every
them
angle.
all.
Yeah.
Got a question.
Yes.
So you talked about the danger of conflicting information, and it kind of goes back to what I saw earlier in the pamphlet or whatever. You mentioned truth with a capital T, and I always like, it's a red flag whenever I see it, because I think
Thank you. Yeah.
that the idea of a single, so in math and formal logic, you have if A, therefore B, therefore C, and I think it's a mistake to apply to real life, because when I get knowledge of the world through my 5 senses, it comes with degrees of certainty. I'm 95% certain that this piece of news is accurate, I'm 95% certain this is accurate, and what I know about the world is built on chains of suppositions of things that are mostly accurate, and in some cases only 60% accurate or something. There's lots of questions. I've read like the War on Iraq. I've read a lot about it. There's still some things I don't know about. I think I know, and I'm pretty certain, but not entirely. And I think in some cases I have conflicting ideas in my head. I don't know. I just don't know. And I think it should always be unacceptable. Acceptable answer to say, I'm pretty certain, but I don't know.
Yes.
And I don't know. I think it's so.
No, that's great.
Convinced of something.
Good.
entirely.
And you're fighting your ego a little bit, right?
Yeah.
That's important. It's important.
An expansion of what you just said. When you are making a logical set of conclusions, one, A, B, and C, when you get from A to B, you have to realize that your perspective has changed because you've moved from where you originally were. Now you see it from a different perspective, and you have to be prepared for A prime or A, and there are choices to be made at that point before you could come to the C conclusion. C may be irrelevant by that point.
Yeah.
And this is how logic works. People automatically set up a series of logical steps. They're leaving out this fourth dimension of movement, this time. Things constantly change. When you're driving your car, you realize it. Maybe you don't realize it consciously. Maybe you do it subconsciously. But things are always changing. Not many people know. It only takes 2.5 seconds from a standing start to turn left into traffic. Well, that's not very far. That's a small opening. People wait there and wait there and wait there and wait there. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. All those W words. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. It's just, we have to remind ourselves that perspective change does change logic.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Good point.
So getting back to the subject of truth that you talked about with the capital T, we can never fully know capital T truth, but our goal is to use the Trivium here to align ourselves as close as we can to it, to eliminate not just contradictory information, but contradictory beliefs, so that you're not believing that I am this and I am this, but they don't go together, so I'm having cognitive dissonance, and it's creating mental problems. So it's eliminating contradictory beliefs. You should always be open to receiving contradictory information, because that helps you identify where you're wrong, where you may have missed something. And the last way that information can come in to bypass your critical thought and thinking mind is introducing fear. So they make you afraid. You're no longer critically thinking. You're no longer in your frontal lobe. You're in the R complex, the fight or flight response. So you don't have time to critically think. You're just in survival mode.
I think, sorry,
Yeah.
but with like CNN or Fox or whatever media outlet, they kind of have the red or the blue kind of flashing in your face to kind of put you in that state, so you're accepting all that
The
information.
colors of red and blue are the two extremes, and then they're
Right.
alternating back and forth. You're not going to be in the middle, which is green, where
Yeah.
you're kind of in the middle of the visual spectrum.
They're like on the different sides of the color wheel.
Yes.
Right.
It's put you out of balance.
So they use trauma, and this creates fear, and the fear makes you externalize your power. So you're no longer thinking for yourself. You're no longer trying to exercise your own power. You're just thinking about survival. So you will turn over your power to a higher force to protect you, and this relinquishes your control to other people. And for the mild form of mind control, this uses modeling. So it's a psychological term. Basically, anytime you see other people behaving, you interpret that and model it. So
It's like a mirror set of cells in your brain. You see something and you kind of reflect it. Like monkey see, monkey do. Is that what you're talking about?
similar to that, yeah. You learn from what's around you, and you normalize that. The more you see a behavior, the more you will assume that that's normal. Right.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Almost caused a movie not to be produced
Oh yeah.
in 1940. Nowadays,
Nowadays it's all about I don't give a shit about anything. Like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This euphemism treadmill, the new terrible words are like ethnic and homophobic slurs. Those are the ones you can't say on TV now. Like it's always a revolving door. What words are the worst?
The new taboos or yeah.
You have other networks that don't have those rules. You know,
Like us. I mean, ultimately, that's what we're trying to do, right?
So this uses mirror neurons, which is a part of your brain that actually allows for vicarious experience and empathy. So when you see someone, take a big fall and hurt themselves, you kind of cringe a little bit because you're actually experiencing that on some level yourself. And then they also use repetition and amplification. So if a traumatic event happens somewhere, the news is going to cover it repeatedly, like 9/11. They keep covering it repeatedly. And this triggers it. So you have this traumatic experience, and then you're getting over it, you're dealing with it, but then they keep bringing it back up, and this triggers that same emotional state, and it keeps you in that sense of fear and helplessness. And then for the severe forms of trauma-based mind control, this is more for the CIA and satanic cults and just really abusive people. They really traumatically abuse children, especially between the ages of 2 and 4, when your brain is developing your personality. And this can actually create schisms and dissociation, where you form walls around traumatic experiences in your mind. You compartmentalize your memory. And this actually creates multiple personalities. And this is used to make people much more compliant and willing. One of these multiple personalities will generally be very submissive and subservient to whatever the handler or the controller wants. So that's pretty much everything I have.
So are you saying that some people are actually puppets and they don't even know what they're doing potentially?
Yeah, there's
amongst us in society.
That's pretty deep. Pretty deep.
People,
do your own research.
Yeah, do your own research.
Yeah, and people will. We talked about an example of a preacher who didn't know that he had this other personality that was part of a satanic cult, and was going this. You completely block it out. You don't have any memory of these other portions of your life.
So traumatic.
Does anyone want water? Everybody need water? Yeah,
So I would definitely recommend checking out our YouTube page. I have a presentation out there one I did a few months back that talks about how some methods that you can use to control your own mind and not let this stuff have as much power over you.
I think it's interesting too. It's not always like maybe that extreme, but it's also like how submissive can be to all the evils that we know are happening, which is addressing to each other. Like you said, like people are road rage and they get mad about other things, right? So I think that when one element's created, there's an automatic opposite. So it's kind of interesting to look at where that aggression might be taking place. It's always all misguided in the wrong place.
Right. And then form a feedback loop where if you're feeding some negative energy, that's going to replicate and spread to other people. And it's the same thing with positive energy. If you are being more positive and trying to keep a positive mindset, that's going to spread to others around you as well.
Yeah.
I have a tendency to whiskey tango foxtrot a lot from behind the wheel, and people can read lips. And I try to make a point of smiling very nicely at them as I pass by them.
All right, anybody have any other questions?
I got one.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, my parents got me to brush my teeth by telling me about tooth decay. And looking back by the time, I thought it was a super traumatic experience.
Appeal to emotion, right?
Yeah, they were like, Arnold, all your teeth are going to fall out, you can't eat apples, and no one's going to love you. And I was like, oh, it sounds awful.
Right, that's the extreme. Yeah.
Appeal to fear, right?
Yeah, and none of it's false. I mean, you don't brush your teeth, they will fall out. But it scared me, and it was traumatic at the time. But it was also the truth, and it was also good for me.
Right.
And I don't know. But does that count as trauma-based mind control? It
What?
In a way it does.
We have to question what school is.
Right. Between education and schooling.
12 years. And then we get out and we're supposed to know how to live, but we don't know about banking, we don't know about food production, we don't know about loving ourselves. So what really happened?
Right?
We're really good at shopping. We're really good at reproducing, and we're good at stabilizing this consumer culture. So that's interesting.
Parroting the current popular vogues.
Yeah, all that, yeah.
Great if you want to 9-to-5 job because we're
Yeah.
programmed
Everybody
to
else,
stay in
get a
the
job, get a job, get a job, oh, get a job, you know? What else could you be? You could be anything you want. A human being is infinite. And we all sit at this 90-degree angle in our little squares all the time. And we think that's normal. And if anybody comes and challenges that, we protect it. You're crazy. I love my square. My square is bigger than everybody else's square. I have more squares to look out at all the other little square things out, you know?
It's
Yeah.
weird to take care of yourself too.
Yeah, we don't, exactly.
Like a gallon thing at my work, and then like, you know, water just to make sure I got enough for the day. And it was like the talk of where like, oh dude, like,
Yes.
around this water, like dude, it's hydration guys, like,
Yeah.
you need to do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird.
We're disconnected.
Yeah.
I had a client one time, I said, the food is made of chemicals and your body is chemicals, and when you eat it, it changes the composition, your environment, your pH. She went, I never thought of that. No, dead, serious. It was cognitive dissonance for me. I was like, oh, so what is it like for you, right? I was just trying to like relate, and she said, it's just a sensation in my mouth. That's it. And it was like so like it blew my mind on like what other people might be going through, you know, because that's never even like just it's just that and then move on. So it was weird. It was really weird for me. So who else is walking around out there? And she's a business owner, and she has horses but sometimes we think, well, that person really has it together, but they don't have the most fundamental. And I think our society at large is missing bits and pieces. And we can't even see it because we're blinded by our conditioning through our, past experiences and whatnot.
Blinded by what we think is normal.
Yeah.
If you look at how society developed, from the beginning of where it was just a matter of going, having something, picking something, and eating something, and then it moved on from there, and then the knowledge that came along with what happens and what you eat, where it goes, and how it helps you.
Yeah.
And it's like the more you learn, the less you know type idealism, right? And then you think about religion and just having faith in something versus actuality of what's going on. If it is control, and it's like, well, if you just have a full belief that I know this is good, I'm doing it, I love you, and I'm moving forward. I don't know a lot about what's going on, and you got the guy on the right that's been studying everything that's going on. Who's to say that one of them's wrong or right? You can't say one of them's wrong or right just because you've been dissecting the whole situation and finding out what the composition is versus somebody who just pure wholeheartedly is just a badass. I love you, and this is just what's going on, and you're either with me or you do your own thing. I mean, it's like it's really it's fine. That's when understanding and not stepping on other people and pointing the finger and calling them, about creating a group or an area or somewhere where people come in and
well, that ties right into the Trivium, because the Trivium is giving you questions, and those questions can be introduced to other people and go, how do you feel? Or what is your perspective? Right? Because people are going to expand to you when you're inquisitive. Like, hey, Chris, tell me about this. Or Chris, you should think like this. It's like two totally different energies. And a lot of times we're trying really hard, passionately to communicate with other people, but we're doing it forcefully and they're shutting off. But even if you know that maybe this person's perspective is totally different, you have to be wise enough to manipulate your own ego to go, I'm going to feel wrong right now, but it's going to help this person understand the point that I'm trying to make. You don't always have to walk away and go, I was right. No, I felt like I didn't know, and that's okay because I really did know, but they got lifted up in some way, and so with all of this takes great responsibility because you're going to start being able to dissect things, and you have to help encourage people on their language and not get distracted and fall back into it and go, oh, I'm above these people because I have the Trivium, I'm smarter. No, they are just like you. They're just in a different consciousness, and we as leaders from love have to help rise these people up and learn how to communicate. You can't speak to a 5-year-old, you can a 50-year-old. Different languages, and we have to learn how to do that to a degree. And that's what the Trivium is offering all of us. So I just try to tie it all together in a way.
I think with that, JL's going to do his presentation next.
Round of applause for Chris.
Yeah, great.